Hi, Matt with eTrailer. If you have a 2021 Nissan Rogue Sport and you're just trying to throw something on your roof real quick just to carry some additional gear from point A to point B, then the Malone AirFlow2 Roof Rack is going to be a great option for you. So let's check it out. And it is important to note that this will only work with raised rails. Now there will be a few other options of different roof styles for the Rogue. And the way you can tell the difference is if I come over here to my roof, I can actually get my hands and fingers underneath the rails. Now, if you have a flush rail option, you're just going to simply be able to grab the rails and there won't be a gap underneath. And if you have a naked roof, there won't be a rail on here at all. And if you just want to be double sure to make sure this will fit your vehicle, you can actually put in your vehicle's information into our fit guide to find the correct fit for you. And what I really like about this carrier is everything is integrated into it, so you won't need any additional parts. And what's really nice is just how fast you can get it on your roof. So let's check out each part of this. Up top, we are going to have our 50-inch aero crossbar. And what's nice about this design is two things. So with this shape, it's going to be more aerodynamic to help reduce that wind noise. And it's going to work with a lot of different types of accessories. So that's really something to think about with your different types of clamps. And something else too is going to be this T-channel right here. We actually have this weather strip built into it. That weather strip is going to help keep that wind noise down and keep any debris from getting in there. And this is really nice if you don't have any clamp-on accessories, you have actually T-channel accessories, you can use this instead. Now we can take a closer look at how it sits on top of our raised rail. And actually this is getting pretty good because we do have this rubber molding on the side of it so it won't scratch anything up. And then we're going to have this hooked end, and you can grab on the two locations. Right here I'm getting a good fit, grabbing underneath the entire rail. Now, if you are having issues with that, you could adjust it to grab onto this section right here. That's one thing that's nice about the Rogue Sports rails is you have a few different options to grab onto. And we can get a measurement just to see how this is going to sit up here. So the first one I'm going to get is going to be the overall height it adds to our vehicle. This is going to be about 3 inches, which isn't too bad. It is something to consider if you are going through some low clearance areas like a garage. What I'd suggest doing is just taking the total height of your vehicle plus your crossbars, and if you have anything on top of there, include that too, just so you know if you can make it or not. The second measurement I'm going to get is going to be the distance underneath our crossbars. That's going to be just slightly over 3 inches, which is going to give you plenty of space to work with right here. This space is important to know just in case you have any really bulky clamps. It's also important to note if you have a sunroof on your vehicle, if that expands up, it could come into contact with your clamps, so definitely just keep an eye on that. And the next measurement I'm going to get is going to be our crossbar spread. So what's really nice about this is you can really adjust this to fit your needs because since this isn't a fixed mounting point system, you can move your crossbars wherever you need them. Now something to keep in mind is we do have a little bit of a bend in our rail right here, and that's going to affect how this bar up here sits, and it's going to come at an angle. So I actually moved it in some to make sure it's sitting relatively flat. But let's see how far it sits now. So going from the front of one crossbar to the front of the other, we're at about 31 inches. If you really needed to, you could probably push it to 32 inches, but just keep in mind anything past that, you're really going to get more of an angled fit from your crossbar. And we are going to have a fair bit amount of overhang. So that's kind of a pro and a con. The pro is if you are putting anything on here and you really need to access it from the side rather than from the interior, that's going to be a bonus. Anything like a ski carrier or a kayak carrier, because you're going to have plenty of room to mount it right here. The downside is if you get really close to your vehicle, you do have the chance of hitting your head on it, but in most cases you probably should be fine. As far as how much you can put up here, that's just going to really depend on what your roof is rated for. So what I'd recommend is just checking your owner's manual and not exceeding that. And making sure you not only include what gear you're hauling, but the weight of this rack. It doesn't weigh very much, but it is important to include that too. And I also recommend just checking what the Malone is rated for. Now, in my opinion, I think this is a great option if you are just trying to use something that is pretty quick and you do like all the integrated features, because I'm definitely a fan of it. Now, something else I'd recommend checking out would be the Rhino-Rack Roof Rack. It's going to have a very similar design to this. It's very easy to use, and it's going to have a similar clamp style. Now, the one downside to it is it's not going to have those built-in locks like we have here, but it is a pretty clean design. But me personally, I do like everything integrated into my roof rack. And as far as the installation, like I said earlier, it is pretty easy, especially for being a roof rack. And if you are curious to see what that installation process looks like, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through it. To start off the installation, I like to lay everything out. You probably already noticed too, behind me I have our rear crossbar installed, but it's going to be the same process for both of them. And really all this is going to involve is going to be your crossbar. Then you're going to have the tower that goes along with it. It'll have a built-in tightening device inside of it. We'll take a closer look at that later on. And you're also going to have this included key. And right beneath this, we're going to have our measuring tape, and this is just going to make things a bit easier. And getting this ready is pretty easy. So all I have to do is come over to the crossbar, flip them around. I'm going to remove this end cap just by pulling it right off. And if you see how I got my towers oriented right now, they're facing towards each other. That's going to be the way I want to put them on. So I'm going to make sure I grab this first one, just flipping them around like this. We're going to have these 2 blocks, or 3 blocks on the bottom. That's going to slide into our channel. The way you're going to do that is just pull it over to the front of it, slide it into place, then push it all the way to the other side. Then you grab the second one and put it in the reverse way. And I'm going to throw my end cap back on. Don't take too long. And I'm actually going to move over to the back end of one of these towers using my key to take out our integrated tool. You're going to have 1 Allen key per set of towers. And the reason why I'm taking this out is just in case I need to adjust our clamp. And what I'm going to do is just measure the distance from one side to the other. And I'm going to make sure that fits around my raised rails. If it doesn't fit around your raised rails, we're just going to take this tool, come over to the back end of it. You'll find that we have this bolt right here, and we're just going to loosen that up a bit. If it's a little bit hard for you to do right here, just push it over to the edge so you can rotate this all the way around, and that will expand how this clamp operates. And we'll just double check again, and if you're good, you can just repeat that on the other side. When we're putting this on top of our roof, we want to check something. So we want to make sure this is in the right orientation. So we're going to have this thicker side. We want to make sure this is facing forward in front of us, the thinner side behind us. And when I'm doing this for the first time, I just like to roughly place it, and then I can adjust it later on. So like right here, you notice it's not in the right location. I'm just going to pull this and make sure it fits. And then later on, we can measure everything out to make sure it's even. And the process for making sure it's even is pretty simple. All I have to do is find one location on top of my roof that's the same on both sides, measure from it. So what you could do is even measure from the top of your windshield to this point. What I like to do is just go from the front of our raised rails. You'll notice we have this indentation right here. That's going to be the same on both sides. Just measure that out so it's the same. The second thing we want to check is going to be our overhang. So when you have this where you want it to sit, we're just going to measure from the tower all the way out to our end cap. And we'll check the other side to make sure it's even. If it's not even, it's really easy to adjust. What I recommend doing is just grabbing your tower and either pulling or pushing on it depending on what you need to adjust. When we finally have this in the right location, we can start tightening it down. So what I like to do when I'm tightening it in place is, if we look at the bottom of the tower, there's going to be a bit of a lip. What I like to do is just make sure that it's grabbing around our rails. Once I've done that, then I can start tightening this bolt at the end of it. And that's one thing I'm not a big fan about this design, is we have that lock core at the very end, and it gets in the way of our crossbars a lot of the time. So it can slow down this process a bit, but it is nice that it's still integrated. And I recommend just doing this until you just get a little bit of resistance when it's making contact, because if we tighten it too much, it's going to pull from the other side and give you an uneven fit. So once this has just a bit of resistance, just go to the other side and repeat that same process, going back and forth until this is all the way tightened down. Something we found actually when installing these, because I was trying to get the most crossbar spread that we could, but when I moved it all the way forward, it was really affecting how our front crossbar was looking. It was kind of facing at an angle. And really that's not a great fit for this vehicle. So what I found is, if we pulled it back some to where we don't have that curve on our rails, we're going to get a much better fit, and this is going to sit a lot more level with our vehicle. And we have everything tightened down. You can just grab your tool. It'll fit right in here. There's a hole right up there. You just line it up, push it in, and then lock it into place. And with it locked down, we like to give it a good shake test to make sure everything feels secure. And if it does, you can load it up with whatever gear you have and take it out for a ride. But that was just a look at the Malone AirFlow2 roof rack on top of our 2021 Nissan Rogue Sport. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.